Welcome to the Bowtied Biotech podcast, where science meets business. If breakthrough biotech, bold innovations, and the business behind the science gets you excited, you're in the right place. Make sure to check us out on Substack, X, and LinkedIn at Bowtied Biotech for even more insights and updates. All right, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's dive right in.
Ever wish you could peek behind the curtain at these legendary venture capital firms? You know, the ones that are just minting unicorn startups left and right?
Right.
That's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of articles about how VCs make decisions.
Okay.
We're going to break it all down because, landing VC funding, there's more to it than a brilliant idea, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You've got to understand the whole game.
Yeah, it's a game, isn't it?
It is.
It's a high-stakes treasure hunt.
Okay.
Where these VCs are looking for the rare gem, the startup with that, potential to be the next big thing.
I love that analogy. So let's say I'm a VC. I've got my monocle. I've got my checkbook ready.
Okay.
Where do I even begin my unicorn hunt?
Well, you might picture a room full of entrepreneurs all delivering their best pitch, hoping to catch your eye.
Yeah.
And while those pitch events definitely exist, they're only one small piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
In reality, a whopping 31% of deals actually come from a VC's existing network. Really? Trusted colleagues, industry contacts, even friends. It's almost like a referral system for startups.
So it's not just what you know, it's who you know, which makes it seem kind of like a tough nut to crack.
It does highlight the importance of networking, for sure.
Yeah.
But even with a really strong network, remember, VCs see hundreds of companies every year.
Oh, yeah.
And out of those hundreds, they might only fund a single one, on average.
Wow. That is a needle in a haystack.
It is.
So what makes one company stand out from all the other hopefuls?
Yeah.
Is it just the most innovative idea? Is it like the slickest presentation?
Well, those things definitely matter. The single most important factor by far is the team.
Really?
We're talking a 95% importance rating in the VC world.
Even more than the idea itself.
Think of it this way. Even the most groundbreaking idea needs the right people to bring it to life.
Okay.
VCs bet on people as much as they bet on products.
So give me an example. What does a rockstar team look like to a VC?
Okay. Imagine two startups both pitching the same revolutionary product.
Okay.
One team is, composed of first-time entrepreneurs, tons of passion, but maybe not a lot of real-world experience.
Sure.
The other team, they've been there, done that.
They've got the scars to prove it.
Exactly. They've launched successful companies before.
Right.
Navigated the ups and downs. Which team do you think inspires more confidence?
The experienced team, hands down.
Exactly.
It's like the difference between betting on a rookie athlete versus, a seasoned pro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
VCs want to see a team that's not only capable of, steering the ship,
Right.
but also weathering those inevitable storms that come with building a business.
Right. So the team is paramount, but what about the financials?
Yeah.
Surely these VCs want to see a rock-solid business plan, some healthy revenue projections.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
While a strong business model is definitely important, and VCs scrutinize those numbers, here's the surprising part. They actually expect startups to miss their financial projections.
Wait. They expect them to miss?
They do.
That doesn't sound very logical.
It does seem a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But it really speaks to the long-term vision of venture capitalists.
Okay.
They understand that the young companies, they operate in markets that are constantly changing.
Right.
What matters more to a VC is the trajectory, the potential.
Not just like a snapshot in time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's not just about the numbers themselves, but the story that those numbers tell.
Yes.
And they're looking for that potential to scale,
Yes.
to become the next big thing.
Absolutely. VCs are making long-term bets, often looking 5, even 10 years down the line.
Wow.
They prioritize that anticipated growth. We're talking a 60% importance rating.
Wow.
Because they're searching for companies that can not just grow, but explode onto the scene.
So you've got to have that powerhouse team and that exponential growth potential.
Yeah.
That's the magic formula.
You got it. But landing the funding, that's just the first step, right?
Exactly. Once a VC invests, things get really interesting.
Because it becomes about much more than just the money.
Exactly. It evolves into a strategic partnership. And that's where the real value of VC funding often lies.
And that's where we'll pick up in just a moment as we explore the fascinating dynamics between startups and their VC partners, the guidance, the connections, and the shared journey towards success.
It really is amazing how much emphasis is placed on that initial funding round.
Right.
But the real work,
Yeah.
that all begins afterwards,
It does.
when the partnership between a startup and their VC really kicks into gear.
Yeah, it's like saying yes at the altar, but the real journey starts after you say, I do.
That's a great way to put it.
What does that partnership actually look like day to day? Are we
Yeah.
talking, weekly check-in calls or VCs like embedding themselves in the company?
It's much more about strategic guidance than micromanagement.
Okay.
Think of VCs as like highly engaged mentors. They're available for advice, yes,
Uh-huh.
but they also, really importantly, open doors to their network.
Right.
Potential clients, industry experts, even future hires.
Yeah.
And that kind of access, it's invaluable,
It is.
especially for a young company that's just finding its footing.
So it's not just the money, it's the connections, the expertise. You've basically got a whole team of super connectors in your corner.
Exactly.
No wonder they expect such a big return on their investment.
And that brings us to another interesting aspect of this partnership,
Okay.
the deal structure.
Okay.
Because while it is this collaborative relationship,
Right.
it's also a business transaction
Right.
with very specific terms.
The fine print.
Exactly.
So what are some of the key things that, get hammered out when a VC signs on the dotted line?
One key element that you'll often see is something called pro rata rights.
Okay.
So imagine a startup, they're gaining traction,
Okay.
they're doing well,
Okay.
they need a second round of funding. Pro rata rights give that initial VC the option to invest again,
Okay.
keeping their ownership percentage the same,
Oh.
even as new investors come on board.
So it's a way for them to double down on their winners.
Exactly.
To make sure they're still along for the ride as the company grows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, to protect their initial investment, most VC deals also include what are called anti-dilution protections.
Okay.
So imagine, you're baking a cake, right?
Okay.
And someone keeps adding flour to the batter.
Right.
Your slice keeps getting smaller.
Right.
Anti-dilution protections prevent that from happening to a VC's ownership stake if the company issues more shares later on.
Okay, so they've got to protect their piece of the pie.
Exactly.
It sounds like VCs really do their homework when it comes to, protecting their investment,
Absolutely.
which makes sense considering the high stakes.
They're sophisticated investors placing significant bets on the future.
Right.
They need to mitigate risk and strategize for a successful exit down the line.
Speaking of exits, that is the ultimate goal, right?
Yes.
For both VCs and startups.
It is.
To cash in on that initial investment, hopefully for a tidy profit.
Exactly.
How do they plan on reaching that target?
Yeah.
Is it all about, that big IPO moment?
Well, going public is definitely the glamorous exit.
Yeah.
The one that makes headlines.
It's the big one?
It is.
Yeah.
It's not the most common.
Really?
Yeah, only about 15% of VC exits actually happen through an IPO.
So despite all the hype, it's not actually the most common way for them to make their exit.
It's not.
What's the more likely scenario then?
You've probably heard of those stories where like a giant tech company
Right.
swallows up a
Lot of
smaller,
research.
innovative one,
Right.
mergers and acquisitions. Exactly.
Yeah.
Those actually account for a much larger portion of VC exits,
Okay.
around 53%.
So that makes sense. A startup gets absorbed into a larger corporation,
Right.
often for a significant sum.
Yeah.
I imagine that's a win-win for everyone involved,
Often it is.
especially those early investors.
A startup gains access to greater resources,
Yeah.
a wider market. The acquiring company gets to integrate innovative technology, tap into a talented team.
Right.
It's a very common and often very lucrative path in the VC world.
But I'm guessing not every startup journey ends with confetti and champagne toasts.
Unfortunately not.
What about the ventures that don't quite make it?
Right.
What happens then?
That's the flip side of this world,
Yeah.
the one people don't talk about as much.
Right.
The reality is a significant number of VC-backed startups, around 32%, end up closing down.
Wow, that's a sobering statistic.
It is.
What are some of the main reasons that these ventures fail?
Yeah.
Is it always about the product? Is it the market? Is it something external?
While external factors can certainly play a role,
Yeah.
it is interesting to note that even with funding and a solid plan, the success or failure of a startup, it often circles back to the team.
The team.
The team.
It seems like that's a recurring theme here.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because even with the best intentions, the leadership team's decisions, their ability to adapt, their execution, all of that factors into the equation.
Right.
The human element is undeniably powerful, even in a world that seems to be driven by numbers and projections.
Even with the funding secured, a great idea, a solid plan.
Yeah.
The team can make or break it.
It's a good reminder that even in the high-stakes world of venture capital, it all comes back to the people.
It's been fascinating to go behind the scenes like this and really get a better understanding of the VC world.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground today, from those early stages of deal sourcing and valuations to the intricacies of deal structures and, all the different paths to an exit.
It's a complex ecosystem.
It is.
But understanding its mechanics can be incredibly valuable, whether you're an entrepreneur seeking funding, an investor looking for opportunities, or simply someone who's curious about how innovation gets fueled.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up our deep dive into the VC world, I want to kind of shift gears for a moment and talk about what all of this means for our listener.
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways that, they can apply to their own lives, even if they're not in the startup game?
Yeah, it's easy to think about venture capital as this exclusive club for Silicon Valley hotshots.
Yeah.
But what you've really highlighted here is that there are lessons here for everyone.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what industry you're in, what your career path looks like.
I think the biggest takeaway, the one that transcends any particular business model, is that underlying importance of understanding what truly drives success.
Okay.
It's not just about having a brilliant idea.
Right.
It's about the team that you assemble,
Right.
the resilience that you bring to the table, the ability to adapt to a constantly changing landscape.
It really is a reminder that human element,
Yes.
that spark of passion and determination,
Yes.
it plays such a key role
He does.
in any kind of success.
Huge.
Yeah.
And even beyond the team.
Yeah.
There's a strategic approach to growth and risk that we see in the VC world.
They're thinking long term, they understand that setbacks are inevitable, and they prioritize that potential
Right.
over those short-term wins.
Yeah.
And I think those are really valuable insights for anyone who's building a business, a career, or even just navigating life's challenges.
It's like you said earlier, it's about understanding the whole game, the rules, the players, the strategic moves that are going to get you to, a win.
Yeah, and sometimes that win might look different than what you initially imagined.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about how an IPO,
Right.
while it's often seen as the ultimate goal,
Right.
it's just one path to a successful exit.
Right.
Sometimes being acquired by a larger company can be a strategic win,
Absolutely.
allowing that startup to scale even faster or tap into new markets.
Right.
And so knowing when to pivot, when to change course, when to embrace a different kind of success, I think those are all really valuable lessons that we can take
It is.
from the VC world.
Yeah. It's been an eye-opening journey, that's for sure.
It has.
We've gone from decoding this mysterious language of VCs to uncovering the surprising factors that drive their decisions.
Right.
And like you said, we've gained valuable insights that apply to pretty much all of us.
I think so.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of venture capital,
Okay.
I have one final question for our listener.
Okay.
If you were a VC and you were holding that metaphorical checkbook, what would be your top priority when you're evaluating a potential investment?
Yeah.
What would make you say, yes?
Right.
Yes, I believe in this team. I believe in this vision. Let's make it happen. Something to ponder as we sign off for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be pitching your own unicorn idea someday soon.
You have been listening to the Bowtied Biotech podcast. Make sure to check us out on Substack, X, and LinkedIn at Bowtied Biotech for even more insights and updates. We appreciate your support and see you next week.